Hey everyone, it's Kat with Meaty Living, and it is time for another Coffee, Carnivores and Questions. So grab your cup of coffee, your favorite cup of tea, whatever it is that you are drinking, and come on in. We're going to go ahead and talk about all things carnivore, and I do actually have a couple special guests here tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them in. We'll go ahead and introduce them, and we got a lot of great things we're going to talk about. So stay tuned. All right. So here we are. These faces you're probably going to recognize. They've been on my channel many times before, but it's always a great time when we have Larry with Carnivore Soldier and Dave Saunier. He doesn't have a YouTube channel, but he is just a wealth of information for the carnivore diet. So,
and he's a lean mass hyper responder.
He is, and we're going to talk about that because we have some interesting things to talk about tonight. But I'll let Larry go ahead and introduce himself, kind of talk about his channel a little bit, just in case anybody's here that hasn't met him before.
All right. Carnivore Soldier coming at you from Austin, Texas again, and this time not on my channel, but on Meat Fueled Living. Thanks, Katrina, for having me over. Or Katarina, I'm sorry. Katrina's a hurricane. Katarina's my friend.
Just call me a hurricane.
Cat is what I normally call her. So
yeah, that's okay.
Anyway, just want to say thanks. Yeah, my channel is about being carnivore, and it's for everybody, but it's pretty much focused and dedicated to first responders and veterans, because I know this diet has made huge changes in me and other veterans like Kat. And I know that if we get this out to them, it's a great tool to help them with mental and physical ailments and to get them off drugs and get them healthy again, empowering them, like get them back in charge of their life, which, you know, it's really hard to do after a whole, especially people who've done career like me or others. You know, you get all dinged up, and this is really the way. This is the way, as the Mandalorian says. So anyway, that's what my channel is dedicated to. But anyone can watch it, not just military and first responders. But if you do know any, definitely share it out. Thanks.
Absolutely. And Dave doesn't have a YouTube channel, but I don't know, maybe one day we'll convince him, but he has got all of the information. He's a lean mass hyper responder, which we're actually going to talk about here in a minute, because Dave and I were talking about something really interesting earlier. And he is a athlete, very impressive. I'll let you go ahead and talk about that, Dave.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, let's see. My name's David. I live in South Louisiana. I've been a carnivore now for a little over a year. I think just maybe 370 days now, or 369, something like that. But yeah, and I kind of started out keto, then transitioned to carnivore. And like Larry was saying, as I transitioned to carnivore and lost more and more weight and became more and more fat adapted, and because I'm pretty athletic, my LDL just started ramping up from, you know, the mid 100s to the mid 200s and then into the low 400s, you know. So I was kind of freaking out at first, like, what the hell's going on? Why is my LDL doing this? But I was kind of worried about it, but I wasn't, because I was trusting at the time, like Dave Mason and David Diamond, and other cardiologists who are very good, who are carnivore keto type supporters, who were saying, look, it's your triglyceride to HDL ratio. All I need to know is if your ratio is, you know, under 2 or about 1.5 and below, I can guarantee you that your LDL is the healthy type, you know. And I was kind of just leaning hard on that. But yeah, I started out, you know, kind of overweight. So my LDL, you know, I had a lot of body fat on me, and as I lost the weight, yeah, my LDL just kept ramping up and up and up. And I had so yeah, that's my background, and I really enjoy y'all's channels. Larry, you know, I started watching Larry quite a while. What I really liked about his videos was how he was very dedicated to first responders and military. And you know, because we've all got a military background, we tend to really relate to each other very well. And I get really motivated watching a lot of Larry's videos, and I think it's just his, the background, so he's doing a really good job in getting that whole veterans community together and bringing out some things, like the suicide issues that he's driven to us. And, so I think his channel's doing really well with that. So,
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, and like I said, I've been carnivore a little over a year. I don't have a YouTube channel. Sometimes I think about doing one. It's kind of easy, but I just don't think I'd have the content, and I really just enjoy kind of watching the videos more than putting out videos, So.
And being guests on the videos.
Yeah, when I can, I guess,
Dave's always sending me a message. Did you see this video? Did you see that video? And which kind of segue, and which I love, because he'll see something and then his whole take on it is just so interesting. And that's actually kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight, because I know if you're out there in the carnivore community at all, you're seeing this Oreo cookie versus statins video that is out there. And true to Dave being that just informed person, he sends me that information today and is like, hey, have you seen this? Which I had, and talked about his thought processes of it. And I'll let Dave get into that a little bit more, but I'm really curious to see what Larry has to say about this as well. But it's really, really interesting. And Dave, you being a lean mass hyper responder, this is actually something, and very athletic and active, like what they were talking about in this study. This would be very pertinent to you. This would not be for me, because I'm still overweight and I am definitely not active. But anyway, Dave, I'll let you go ahead and just talk a little bit what you were saying to me, and then Larry, chime in too, because I know you've seen the video as well.
Sure.
Yeah, but I mean, the Dave Feldman's organization, his nonprofit that he started, they've been doing a lot of research into lean mass hyperresponders, and basically people that have very low triglycerides, very high HDLs, and very high LDL levels, or total cholesterol. And they're doing studies on the effects of carnivore diet long term. Nick Norwitz is a research scientist who's also in medical school right now. He's a PhD. He's written a lot of papers recently on statins. No, not statins, but cholesterol. And one of the, I guess his latest paper where he's put out, he basically did an N of 1 study on himself, where he is a lean mass hyperresponder. He has very high LDL, but very, very low. I think he's well under 100. His triglycerides are well under 100, and his HDL is almost in triple digits. What he did was he said, all right, they have a theory of how the energy, how your metabolic processes work, and how LDL is very, very related to how, what is it called? The energy model, I guess.
It's lipid energy model, I think,
the
right?
Lipid energy model. And they have a lot of theories of how this is working. Well, one of the tests he decided to do was, let's see what will happen if I inject about 100 grams of carbs a day into my carnivore diet. What will happen to my cholesterol? Well, he started out with a cholesterol of about, let's say, a little over 400, added 100 grams of carbs, but he did it using a little bit of a shock value by just saying, all right, I'm just going to use any carbs. He used Oreos, a cookie that he grew up with, I guess. He loved Oreos.
But it could have been a sweet potato or a banana. It could have been anything. It's just the Oreo was like the big shocker.
Could have been anything.
Yeah, that's the hook. Everyone loves an Oreo, right?
And anyway, he dropped his cholesterol by over 70% in a short amount of time, and he didn't change the diet. He stayed on a carnivore diet, but just added the Oreos, and his LDL dropped to from low 400s to a little over 100. Okay. And which is phenomenal. But what I was kind of drawn to by, you can actually read the paper that they submitted. where you can look at his over that 2 or 3 week period, his triglycerides pretty much stayed the same, and his HDL actually went up still.
Yeah.
So his triglyceride to HDL ratio got even better while he was on the Oreo.
Yeah.
And I think he continued to exercise. I think he just kept everything the same, his exercise pattern and his carnivore diet pattern. And then there was a washout period. He got off the Oreo, stayed on carnivore for a few more weeks. I think it was a month or two, and then got on a statin, and a pretty significant amount of statin. I wanted to say 40 or 50 milligrams of, I can't remember what statin it was, but he was under the care of a doctor during this time. They did the blood test, and the statin did lower his cholesterol, but nowhere near what the Oreos did.
And I think he was on keto, wasn't he? Or was he on full carnivore?
I'm pretty sure he was a full carnivore.
Okay.
Because he was on full carnivore when he just added that 100 grams of carbs, of the carbs. So, that was and basically that was his, they're playing on that lipid energy model and showing that just a little bit of carbs will have a huge effect on your cholesterol levels, So
he was on rovastatin, 20 milligrams a day.
Okay.
Which is Crestor, right? Crestor?
Yeah, and it did less than 50% of the lowering that so basically the Oreos did 71% lowering his cholesterol. The rovastatin did 32%, 32.5%. So it was less than 50% effective as Oreo cookies.
Yeah, it's incredible. And then it got to a point where his cholesterol dropped more at the beginning, and then just kind of plateaued. It just stayed. That didn't do much more after that.
It actually went back up a little bit.
Yeah. And when I was taking a statin for a few years, I was on a kind of a low carb. It wasn't really keto, but it was kind of a low carb. I noticed that the statins worked for a few months, it seemed like, and then after a while, my cholesterol levels never did anything. They just would stay moderately high. I mean, I always thought they were really high back then. They were like 120, 140. And my doctor then, this is in the military, he was freaking out. Oh, you've got to get that LDL down, And I think about it now, that just seems so low to compare to what my LDL is now. My LDL, the last time I had it checked, it was about 430, 435, I think. But like I said, my HDL at that time was like almost 90, and I think my triglycerides were like right about 100. So I'm very happy with that. Plus, my particle analysis was excellent. So I mean, it is what it is. I've got to the point now where I realize as long as I keep my triglycerides down and my HDL up, my body weight down, I don't smoke, I don't do seed oils, I don't do a lot of sugar, I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to be a healthy guy.
Yeah.
And I enjoy running on fat because it's, for what I do athletic wise, I do a lot of bike riding. I love riding bikes, go on long rides. I ride almost every day when I can, either short rides or long rides. I just love being on a bike, and it's done a lot for me in my head. Just kind of, it was part of my therapy of dealing with anxiety and things like that. So not having to carry carbs is huge. Like not having to like every hour take in 150, 200 grams of carbs, which is what I was doing years ago. I was sucking down sugar, from Gatorade to goo bars to all these energy type bars that are just loaded with sugars. I was taking in lots of carbs, and none. I really eat nothing the whole time I ride, just water. And I enjoy that. And I know that, hey, my body is making the glucose it needs. My liver's producing the glucose, and that's what's, keeping me going. And I enjoy knowing that my body's doing what it needs to do to keep me, from bottoming out. And it's a great feeling knowing that you're eating that well, that your body can do what it needs to do.
Well, yeah, you're fighting your body up on a regular standard American diet. You're actually fighting it, and you're causing the problem and then sustaining the problem, fueling the problem, as long as you eat that standard American diet. As soon as you switch to a regular diet, your body is no longer under attack, and then it can start doing the things it's designed to do at the way it's supposed to do it, because you're eating the food, the proper human diet. Now, I had 2 videos that I saw before this that really convinced me that that the the cholesterol issue, well, for one thing, that most medical doctors don't understand it, right? And the two I saw, and then also that the statins are kind of a hoax. And yes, they are important for some people if they've already had a heart attack or something. They're very high risk, but that's absolute risk, not relative risk, which they love to sell. So one was debunking the myth of fiber by Zoe Harcum. She is talking about fiber, but she goes into absolute risk, relative risk, and statins in detail in that video. I'm going to drop the link in below, so the link's in. And the other video was the LDL Masterclass with Dr. Baker and Dr. Diamond. Because Dr. Diamond, the first time he laid it out, and he's like, listen, there's no upper end of cholesterol that's really a problem as long as your ratios are right, and that's the type. They're like, you don't have to worry about it. You can have skyrocket, you have 800, whatever. It doesn't matter. That's not important. And also, I think in the other video, the Zoe Harcum, she actually talks about the difference between cholesterol and nanolipids, because LDL and HDL are both the same molecule. They're both cholesterol. There's no difference between them other than kind of the job they're doing and the size. So like, I think one of them is taking parts to the cell to be rebuilt, and the other one's taking garbage way back to the liver. And it's
well, when your liver initially sends the LDL, your cholesterol out, it's actually VLDL. It's a very large particle, and as
then it goes and drops off.
It goes through your body
to where your body needs it.
It unloads the triglycerides,
and then it just keeps getting smaller and smaller
until it's LDL size. So that's all it is. Now, what you don't want is you don't want the LDL to be damaged, and that's where your problems start. And as long as you eat correctly and don't ingest all this seed oil and all these high carb, high sugared, and highly processed foods and smoking, you're not going to damage those LDL particles. And I think that's the key, to eat in a way to where you don't do that damage. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of an N=1 right now, where I'm playing around with, and it's just a short-term thing. For the past month, I've been eating an excess amount of fat, and what I've noticed is it is true. If you really can't get fat by eating too much fat. Because what I'm finding out is, if I eat way more fat than I should be, I'll be on the toilet.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can't absorb it.
Your body says, okay, we've got enough fat. The rest of it is going right out the bottom, and that's exactly what's been going on. And I've realized now that, like when you brought up Zoe Harcum's video on her talks on fiber, man. I haven't had I don't think I've had more than, I don't know the last time I've had anything with fiber in the past well over a year now. And I am, I'm having very normal bowel movements. It's particularly in the last couple of weeks when I've been playing with excess amounts of fat, which I'm kind of done with now. I'm going to just go back to how, I'm ending this. But I do know now that I didn't gain any weight by eating excess amounts of fat and protein. It just came out, So I can definitely verify fiber, and you can easily function without fiber. I've been doing it all year long.
Yeah, me too. Well, let's see, what day am I on? Let me see. Let me share this real quick. I'm on day 312.
Nice.
So, and not constipated once yet. Not once have I been constipated in 312 days. Now, Do I go as often as I used to on the standard American diet? Nope, not at all. I used to go pretty much every other day or daily. Now I go twice a week. And when I go, it's small. So that's just the way it is. And what I do is I actually start my day eating some butter every day too. Like when I wait till I'm hungry. And when I'm going to go into the kitchen to make a meal, I start cooking the meal, whether it's burgers or steak or whatever, or this time was pot roast. And while I do that, I cut some slices of butter and eat them while it's heating up. And that's what I do. I like getting that extra fat in, and that your body, John, your body totally balances itself out if you let it, and including fat. So your fat intake, your body can adapt, and it will adapt as long as you keep increasing it to a certain point. The gallbladder can only make so much bile, and the bile is required to break down and emulsify that fat so it can get absorbed into your system. Once you're out of bile, you're out of luck. It's going to come out the other end. And that's when, look out, because it'll happen pretty quick. Don't trust a fart at that point. But once you dial in, listen, once you dial in how much fat you can have daily, I know if I'm eating too much butter in the day. If I already ate a lot of butter, I'm like, well, I just want one more slice. Sometimes I'll stop, like, maybe I shouldn't, right? But using the amount of butter too, you can use that to dial in how firm you want your stool, right? Also, yeah. So that's something else I do.
One of the nice things about this, the way my bowel movements are now, because of riding, when I was like living a really high carb lifestyle while I was doing a lot of the rides, I was always worried in the morning when we started riding. Like, I just know at some point, I haven't had a number 2 in a couple of days. Man, I know something's going to happen on this ride, because I'm just, and like, you just don't want to
shake it loose.
And that happens. And there was a couple of times where I didn't go riding because I knew that I was like, oh no, I can already tell, like, by the time this ride is halfway over, I'm going to be needing a toilet. And I just don't like doing that. So on this diet, I know, like, I could tell as soon before we even start, like, I don't have any urge to want to go to the bathroom. And I know even if I did while I was riding, it wouldn't be anywhere like it was when you're on the carbs. It would be like, oh, maybe later on after the ride's over with, I might need to go to the bathroom, but it can easily wait. That would never happen when you were on
my IBS. There was no waiting.
Yeah, there's no waiting. You're like that commercial with the toilet in the car and the toilet at the office. Like, that's the way you're sitting on the toilet all the time. Yeah, I look at those commercials as like, and people are looking at this and getting drugs to try to treat that. It's all they have to do is change their eating. It's so crazy. I look at almost every commercial I see.
That over-the-road truck driver where his seat is the toilet. And my daughter could tell you, there's been more than one occasion where I wish that in my car I had that, because we would be like speeding through town trying to go home so I could get to the bathroom. My IBS is so bad.
I sent a friend of mine who just refuses to believe that I can be doing this without any type of fiber.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a cyclist like myself. And I sent him a video, and I told him to key in at this certain position where she talks specifically about fiber in the diet, as well as a Chafee video and maybe one other. And I just bookmarked the places where they talk specifically about fiber and some of the tests that have been done. There was only been one really good test. It was not a purely randomized control, but it was the only good test we've ever had on fiber with constipated people. And that was, I think Zoe talks about that as well as Chafee.
Yeah.
Sent it to a friend of mine who says that can't be true.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. I'm just telling you, I don't eat fiber. I haven't had a gram of fiber in over a year, and I have bowel movements every 2 to 3 days, and they're minimal. Yep. And he's like, well, there's something wrong with you. I'm like, okay, well, it's only so much you can do. It's like,
yep.
Okay.
You got to do is send them the history of fiber. Go back to Kellogg, who's the one who proposed that we needed to have a bowel movement every day. And only through buying his cereal could we do that. I mean, it was all marketing back then. It's not like it was some scientific study. It wasn't. That was his theory. His theory has never been tested scientifically. And it was also his marketing pitch. 2 marketing things he brought to us. 1, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. False. And he came up with that one because he's selling cereal. Number 2, that we need to have regular bowel movements daily and large ones. And that came from his cereal as well. So those are the two things. Him and Graham from Graham Crackers, Kellogg and Graham were two influential Seventh-day Adventists who were very smart, very savvy, very influential. And they're why we are here now. The Seventh-day Adventists actually have a medical school that Dr. Chafee talks about all the time. They have these fake Seventh-day studies too that they put out, trying to show people that you're supposed to be vegan and all this. And the whole goal for these guys was not just to make money, but they also wanted to lower the sex drive for men. They wanted men not to masturbate and not to lust anymore. And hey, guess what? That theory they were correct on, because if you eat this food in good enough quantity, you will have lower testosterone, you will have lower sex drive, you will have all kinds of problems. And they were right about that.
Yeah, there's actually a funny movie based on that guy. Old Guy Carnivore talks about it on one of his videos, and it's on Netflix, I believe. It's either on Netflix or Amazon Prime. I can't remember, but it's like a movie from maybe the 90s era. It's kind of a comedy, more or less, but it's based on Dr. Kellogg, and it's pretty funny. But I wanted to add one more thing. When we were talking about the Oreo cookie test. So my next cholesterol test will probably be like in late March, I think, at the VA. It's my annual checkup. So what I'm thinking about doing for that one is my own little N of 1, and I will probably, because I exchanged some messages with Dr. Norwitz, and I said, hey, I'm just reading your paper. It looks like I don't really have to have Oreos. I can do this with sweet potatoes. Or he's like, yes, exactly. I said, okay. I just, that was my just reading the paper. It looks like it's carbs only.
It's carbs.
Yeah. So anyway, I was trying to think of a way I could do that, adding 100 carbs and still being carnivore. And I was thinking, whoa, milk. I can drink milk. Milk's got carbs. It's got lactose. So I tried to calculate it out, and I'm like, oh no, I'd have to drink over a half a gallon of milk a day for 6 weeks or so. I'm like, nah,
not enough carbs.
That's a lot of milk, man. And so I didn't realize how I thought milk had much more carbs. Whole milk had much more carbs. I think it's just 12 grams of carbs per cup, which I was thinking, I said, that's actually not bad to stay low carb on a couple of glasses of milk a day. And you can still be carnivore, but I will probably
carnivore is 0 carbs. You could be ketovore.
Well, okay. Yeah, I'm thinking you're still eating just animal products by eating a milk, So
yeah, I would never recommend milk for anyone who's carnivore, though, unless
I manage well. I do well digestively on milk. I don't have the digestive issues, and I don't really drink a lot of milk anyway. Like I said, I just drink a little bit of half and half in the morning, and maybe 4 tablespoons, 6 tablespoons. That's about it. And that's only about 6 grams of carbs. So, but yeah.
So that movie you were talking about, Dave, is called The Road to Wellville. Sound familiar?
Yes. That is it. It is what year? I think it might be late 80s or early 90s or something. But it's really good. It's funny, actually. It's more of a comedy. And the Dr. Kellogg guy is actually, you can see the guy's an absolute kook in this movie.
So Rich was asking a question regarding that Oreo video that we're talking about, and he was wondering how that unconventional approach in cholesterol management might be received by your healthcare professionals. And I'm guessing, considering how my healthcare professionals perceive the carnivore diet for me in general, that probably also would go over like a turd in the punch bowl. So I don't know, though.
The only thing I could think of is that they tend to turn their nose at anything that's keto, carnivore, or lion diet. But you just tell them, yeah, I am eating a little bit of Oreo in the day, but look at my cholesterol. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. They they will be like, yeah, okay, well, your cholesterol, looks pretty good. So yeah, no problem. But you tell them that you're controlling your cholesterol with on a keto diet or a carnivore, and they'll flip out.
You could be eating chocolate birthday cake and donuts daily. And
Yeah.
that's the same effect, exactly the same. But oh yeah, that's good. Just don't eat steak because that's just crazy. That's insane that you would eat like meat that our ancestors could just go out and kill and eat, right? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Because they had so much access to donuts and cake back then.
Oh, exactly. Bakeries were everywhere. The American Indians, just bakeries everywhere for sure.
And it does it makes so much sense too, because I have friends that aren't. They're generally pretty overweight, and when they tell me like with their I've talked about this with a couple of friends who just eat whatever they want to eat. They drink a lot of beer, eat a lot of pizza, ice cream, all that stuff. I'm always amazed at how low their LDL is. Like their LDL might be 90 or 100, but their HDL is like 35, and their triglycerides are, 200 or, 180 or 190, they're really high. But they've got a huge gut. And I'm just thinking, they're insulin resistant. So it's like, yeah, look, I got great cholesterol. I'm thinking, yeah, but metabolically, you're not in great shape, Cholesterol, now that I'm convinced cholesterol is not, we're worried, we're keying in on the wrong thing, or at least the medical industry is.
No, it's not just that. You look at, this is well known, but the thing is, they have a hammer. And when you're a hammer, everything's a nail. Their hammer is cholesterol because they have statins. That's their hammer. Statin is the hammer. And cholesterol is the only thing statin is good for, right? So if you look at the NIH studies from the 1990s, the NIH has studies published on low serum cholesterol and mental health. They state in these series, that there's direct correlation between low serum cholesterol and impulsive behavior, gambling, depression. Basically, they have schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, violent suicide acts, and violent behavior. So, I mean, all these things are directly correlated to low serum cholesterol. Yet we're told in the same people to be healthy, we should be eating oatmeal and Cheerios to lower our cholesterol. Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, and you wonder why people are committing suicide and getting mentally ill, and why I have homeless everywhere now. Listen, I grew up, we did not have homeless everywhere like this when I grew up. I don't know about you guys. This just wasn't the thing. And people to say, oh, they were there, we didn't see them. Nope, wrong. Nope. I grew up in San Francisco area. I used to go when I was a kid. My grandma would take me to San Francisco. Wasn't like that. There was no defecation on the street, no drugs on the street. These people are self-medicating and they are hopeless. And I think diet has a lot to do with it, because we're eating this garbage, low-fat, low cholesterol diet that they implemented in the 80s. And since then, or 79, since then, everything's gone downhill. The only thing that are going up these days are obesity, our cancer rates, all these things. And I look at these cancer commercials. Oh yeah, research to fight cancer. Really, you've had freaking 50 years and you haven't moved the needle. In fact, you've moved the needle backwards. So why would you give me any money? I'm not going to wear a pink jersey. I'm not going to give you money, because you are obviously not the stewards that need to be handling this, because your results suck. I would fire you if I could.
Mm-hmm. They may, it seems to me that all they're doing is they're keeping you alive longer with, the massive amounts of chemo and radiation and cocktail drugs, but they're not doing anything to prevent it, because the rates just keep going up and up and up.
Yeah, they're a company. Their profit, their goal is to build insurance companies. That's what it's all about. And that's what they're all about. How can we build the insurance companies, make this money? MD Anderson, all these companies, oh, they're so great because they're fighting cancer. Yeah, BS. Cut your sugar out of your diet. I mean, cancer only lives on two things. Well, one, cancer starts when you have your mitochondria get damaged, right? And that's where it starts. And then they can only ferment. Cancer cells ferment either on glucose or glutamine. Glucose is directly from sugar in your diet. Cut that out. Then you just have glutamine. Glutamine's from your protein. You can actually go to a high-fat, low-protein diet like David Charles does, and that'll get rid of the glutamine or get it to a low enough level where it doesn't sustain the cancer. Or you can buy glutamine inhibitors like fenbenzidine. on Amazon for $6 a bottle. And there's people, if you look up Fenben or fenbenzidine and cancer, you'll see people who are terminal cancer and beat it for $6 like a month of, and that's a dog dewormer. And yeah, oh my gosh, it's a dog dewormer. But you know what? It is a glutamine inhibitor, and you're just trying to stop the fuel. David Charles didn't have his tumors surgically removed. They are not there anymore. They went away because he cut glucose and glutamine out of his diet. I mean, it's a scam. Cancer is a scam.
I was listening to an interview with a ex-Pfizer. I'm not sure if it was a Pfizer or it might have been a Johnson & Johnson's sales rep who was saying that what's so exciting about, all the statins that they made and selling them was they created all these side effects. And he goes, that's even the greatest things, when these people take these meds that we're making oodles of money on in commissions, and they develop side effects. Well, our same company makes drugs to fight the side effects that their other drugs give, and he's like, we just keep making more and more money on the sales of this. And I was like, man, that's terrible. It just sounded terrible. And the doctor interviewing him brought that up, and it's like, that's just terrible. And I was like,
yeah,
know,
Dr. Chafee talks about that. He gets pissed off because that's what, these guys talk about. Like, they want to make, and they're at least not hiding it. They want to make money. They are a drug cartel. That's what they are. A legal drug cartel. So yeah.
Is that a question on there? I can't read the text from.
Well, that one is just saying that the medical community does more to handle symptoms rather than preventing them. But I also wanted to do a quick shout out to Carlos. Says that it's his 1-year carniversary 2 days ago. Says that my depression, anxiety, killer back pain are all gone, down 90 pounds, 37% body fat to 16. I have been, I'm guessing, I think that's overweight and obese most of my life. You guys are my support. Thank you. So congrats, Carlos.
Nice.
Yeah, that's like I was saying earlier, like when you hang around in a community of carnivores, it's even better, like especially on the YouTube, like what I was talking about earlier, where, like Larry and I and Kat were ex-military. I will shoot Kat texts once in a while. And like just a couple of weeks ago, I could tell it just seemed to me something was off. So I texted her. I said, hey, you're all right, and that's part of our, I guess, we're kind of our camaraderie. We know each other as vets. We relate to each other's problems. We're all doing the same diet. So there's a lot of support there, but there's other support too, the morale support. That's why
I was getting my hiney handed to me by the dark cloud of depression. And it was nice to have somebody say, hey, I'm noticing that you're not yourself, or something doesn't seem right. Are you okay? And that's really a great community.
Yeah, that's what I like about particularly the veterans that Larry's kind of coalesced on his channel. Every time he's interviewing somebody that was a veteran or first responder, man, it really clicks, because I'm like, you just relate so much better. We've all been there, kind of thing, I guess, so.
Yep.
Good stuff.
We have another one. Julia says, 71-year-old, all my numbers were good 3 weeks ago, off blood pressure medication, statins, and NSAIDs like, Motrin, that type of stuff, and says that she does take occasional D3 and some iodine. So again, congratulations.
Yeah, I take a couple of drops of iodine every morning in my coffee.
I do in my coffee. When I remember. Lately, I haven't been remembering, but.
I do some iodine. Yep.
Okay, so she is what, 70?
71, it says.
Okay, yeah, I just turned 62. I don't feel like I'm 62. I feel way younger than that. But I had maybe a couple of days ago, I had this kind of a wake-up moment. I was at the church that I grew up in, and there's a graveyard on the side, and all of my relatives, grandparents are buried there. And I was looking at my grandmother and grandfather's grave, who on my mom's side, my grandfather, who I thought was really old when he died, he was 71, and my grandmother was 70. And I was just staring at that thinking, that's 8 years away for me. I have got to stay healthy. You know, like there's no way I want to be gone that early.
Right.
So I stood there and I stared at it, and I had no idea they were that young. Now, growing up, I just thought they were a lot older than that because they were my grandparents, you know, gray hair and all that. For some reason, I was thinking they were in their 80s, you know, maybe late 80s. I don't know. It just blew me away that he was that young. But he had Alzheimer's, you know. My grandmother on my mom's side died of a stroke. And then my grandfather, about a year later, he had really bad dementia, Alzheimer's, and he was only like 69 when he moved in with us. When I realized it, he lived with us for about 2 years, and then he ended up having a stroke as well and dying. But he had Alzheimer's, and I'm like, man, there's no way I am going to let myself do that. So I'm made the point of staying on this diet even more critical, you know.
Yeah, Julie says that she wants to add that she's down 30 pounds from her highest at 196. I'm just 5'7", so 140 to 150 is a good range, and that she's getting there.
I'm down to 232 now. I was 234 last month, so I'm dialing it in. I have to get
Are you still doing just Lion? I mean, last time I talked to you, I think that's what you were doing, was just Lion.
So I was doing Lion January and the 8,000 steps per day, but then I got an injury. Basically, what happened was I do, you know, I'm a wireless network architect, but I have a business inspecting real estate. So I had 3 properties to inspect, 2 commercial and 1 was a home. It was an old home from the 80s. I did it kind of as a favor to the realtor. I pulled the hatch for the attic down, and it was screwed shut. So I unscrewed it. And I didn't have a mask on. And when I opened it, I got engulfed with like all this fibrous dust and like insulation. It had been sealed for probably 20, 30 years. And I immediately got a sore throat. And then I got a sinus infection the next day. I got sick because I had the infection. The infection turned into it actually turned into a staph infection. So I had to go get antibiotics and
holy cow.
Yeah, I got really sick. And so I had to stop all that because I couldn't go outside and walk because it got below freezing outside too. So we had that cold snap come. So I've been on pause. Now I did continue eating Lion, except for I had my son over and I made him a ketovore casserole. And I ate some of that, which is cheese and chicken and stuff and green chili pepper kind of stuff, but I just had a little taste of that. So anyway, yeah, so that was that. So I'm not, I ain't back on Lion today. Today I had a pot roast for breakfast. I had some butter and I had a ribeye, and that's what I ate today. Yesterday I just ate burger patties all day. So yeah, I'm back on it.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I didn't really put weight on or anything because after being sick, I ate less than I normally did. So. And I haven't been in the gym in 2 weeks now because of that, which is throwing me off. But Tuesday, I'm back in the gym. I'm ready to go.
Now I'm down. I'm at 175. I pretty much seem to have bottomed out there. I've been at 175, 174, 175 for a couple of months now. But the only other good thing is my pants. I keep losing inches in my waist. Well, not inches, but I keep losing in my waist. My wife bought me new pants, a couple of pairs of pants. Like I was in a 34, which were kind of tight. Even though they were really loose cut jeans, they were still rather tight in the button area. Now I'm down to, like, she went down a couple of sizes and actually got the slim fit. Yeah. And a 32 fits me. And there's still plenty of room in the waist. I said, I bet you can get a 30. I bet I can fit in a 30. It's just my thighs may not fit if they're thin because my legs are pretty muscular. So I said, I just know that I could probably fit even down to a 30, and we're talking like 9th grade era for me, if I could get in a 30. But that's incredible. Like my weight seems to be the same, but I seem to keep losing in this gut area, you know?
I bought 2 pairs of 38s in the end of August, beginning of September. And by the time it got cold enough, they were kind of big on me. I could slide them up without unbuttoning them and put a belt on. So I was like, all right, these are too big. Then I'm not buying more than one. Yeah, I'm not buying more than one pair now. So I bought one set of 36s about 4 weeks ago, and now they are super loose on me. And my belt's on the last hole again. So I'm going to go buy another pair of pants. I'm probably going to be in a 34, which is what I was in college. And I'll probably be about 228 to 230.
And that's really good because you're like you're over 6 feet, right?
Yeah, I'm 6'3".
Yeah.
6'2" and a half, 6'3", depending on what I'm wearing. If I'm wearing my shoes, I'm 6'3". If I'm barefoot, 6'2" and a half. And I'm 200 and 6'2" and a half at 230 or 228. That's my playing weight in college. So
that's crazy because man, I mean you're actually pretty slim then. I mean, if you're that height and you're down to like a 34 waist now, that's pretty good.
Yeah. My 36 is looking. Well, look, here's my 36.
Yeah, when he stood up and walked, I was like, oh, he's looking skinny.
These are 36s, and they're like totally hanging on me now.
I can see you look like a potato sack on you.
I can literally pull my older pants. I can actually pull them off without even unbuttoning them or unzipping them. They will slide off.
Yeah.
Like, that was how my wife was like, oh, no, I'm going. My wife's in the retail business. And when I said, look, check this out, babe. And I just.
And she's like, no.
She's like, no, I'm bringing you back some pants. So look, don't get me more than 2 pairs because I'll need another. I'm going to probably go down another size. So, she picked up, dropped me down to 32 and got slim fit. And they fit me really well. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I was just laughing because I'd never been able to pull a pair of pants down like that before. And I was like, man, I cannot believe how much.
I can drop trout pretty quick now. Yeah.
You better tighten your belt.
I can't tighten anymore. I'm on the last hole. I was a 42. I like to call it a 42 tight. And if you see my before picture, those are 42s and the button's like pulled like a hydrostatic test.
Yeah.
And now I couldn't even put those things on. I mean, I tried putting some old shorts on because I don't have any shorts that fit anymore. And I only have 2 pair that are semi acceptable. They're worse than these. They are really baggy. Like they start folding where the belt is, It's like
you have to envelope it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get new shorts, which is great. That's an excellent problem to have. But I'm trying to hold off till my weight stabilizes. And this is 300 and some odd days in. It's not stabilized yet. I'm still moving in the right direction, which is great.
Yeah. I never had to wear a belt. Like the past few months, I would have to wear a belt, or those 34s were coming off,
100%. My belts were like for looks before. Now they're like functional. Yeah. I'm like the suspenders, right?
Right.
Or you wear the belt so that you can hide the fact that you can't button your pants.
Yeah.
So you put a belt on to give you a little extra room. I mean, maybe that was just me that did that.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm feeling so much better now that weight's gone, man. It's just incredible. And full, man. Like Larry, you mentioned that, when I get up in the morning, I do the same thing. I'll make a couple of cups of coffee and a couple of slices of butter, man. Like for some reason, I won't eat any food really until like 11 o'clock, That's my first meal. I'm not really hungry. I kind of feel hungry, but like, I'm going to just wait till noon, eat a big meal, and then maybe at 3 o'clock I'll eat a pound of ground meat or a steak or something, and then that's it, man.
Yeah, I'm done for the night. I just had a ribeye, and I had pot roasted at about 11:30 or noon, I think. Yeah, noon. I think I had pot roast. I had a bowl of pot roast, which I had made I crock potted. And I tell you what, if you haven't done pot roast, man, that's the way to go. You get some.
I do it all the time.
Oh yeah. Whenever my son doesn't finish his ribeye, I put it in the fridge and I throw the ribeyes in there with it, whatever he didn't finish. I'm like, all right, that's some good meat to throw into the crock pot. And
I had the best ribeye the other day. I was at the grocery store and they were marking down all kinds of meat. I looked and there was one ribeye left that was on sale. And it was it was a big, thick ribeye. I forget how much it weighed, but it came out to like $6.99 a pound. And which is pretty cheap for ribeye. And it was a big hunking piece of ribeye. It was like $14, and it was like, I saw the regular price was like, seemed like it was like in the 30s. So I picked that thing up and I just gave it a nice broil in a cast iron pot with some butter, and it was so delicious, man. I was just
I like to hit up Costco and Sam's Club like early in the morning if you can get there, because that's when they market their meat down, and you can get some stellar. And then I freeze mine. I'll bring it home unless I'm going to eat it that day, and I'll vacuum seal it or whatever and freeze it. So you can get some stellar meat deals if you go first thing to one of those two places. Like Sam's, I usually go to Sam's because it's closer, and I'm constantly getting meat on cheap there.
Yeah, I saw ribeyes were $10 off for a pack, and it was like $60. I paid $50 for 4 huge ribeyes. And what I do is I break the ribeyes down into first I put them in the fridge and let them wet age for a few days, and then I break them into individuals and put them in gallon Ziploc freezer bags and stack them because I like to cook them frozen in my air fryer directly, like tonight. And when you do it when it's frozen, you just keep checking oh my gosh, it's so good because the ends get so
literally put it in there frozen, and then what temperature do you put it on?
450 or 400 if you can't do 450, but 450 is the best. I have 2 air fryers. One will go 450, one will go 400. Both the air fryers are available on the website, but yeah, frozen in the air fryer is amazing. For me, it takes about today it took 27 minutes or 28 minutes. What happens
how thick it is
after 15? Yeah, mine are like that. After 15 minutes, I flip them. It's a Costco cut. After 15 minutes, I flip them, and then I get a meat probe and start sticking the middle. After about another 10 minutes, so after 25 minutes, you can check it if it's a thick, 1 inch or greater steak. I think it's 1 1/4. And you stick it with your probe, and when it gets to 100, 101 degrees, you pull it out and let it rest and put some butter on it. But the ends get so crispy. The outside, it's like burnt ends. It's like burnt ends on the outside, and the inside, it's medium rare, like all the way through. So good. And it's
so. Lady Pasco wants to know if you've got a video doing that. Do you have a video on that?
I do.
Yeah,
I have a video.
Larry, post your channel if you haven't already.
I'm going to post my my cooking series on the channel. I have a cooking series of videos for recipes. I have a lot. I have a smoked reverse sear on there. I got a lot of James Myers. Yep. Air fryer is great, especially for a single person like me. Easy cleanup, no muss, no fuss. I can actually make 2 on there. So when my son's over, I can make him a ribeye as well. I got a big one. I got a clamshell one that goes to 450, and I have a regular one just for myself if it's just me. Or I'm gonna post that now.
I wish my air fry went to 450. Mine goes to 400, and it does a frozen ribeye pretty good. Or any
it still does it good at 400, but not as good.
I wish it would get a little bit higher because it doesn't. I know it would probably be a little more crispier on the outside in that crust. That's the only thing that's missing. But from frozen to eating in about 15 minutes, or 20 minutes or whatever, it's good stuff.
Yep, absolutely. And you don't have to thaw stuff out. You don't have to plan. You can just say, you know what, I'm hungry, throw it in. And in 30 minutes, you'll be eating the best ribeye anything better than any restaurant you can get. I guarantee that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try it. I have an air fryer. I just never did it from frozen.
We went to.
I'm gonna post the video so y'all can see it.
We went to a restaurant a couple of weeks ago, and they had their there was an area where the steaks were, and I looked, their ribeye was like $80. And I'm thinking, like, how? And I saw the weight, and I'm thinking, oh, there's no way, man. I was like, there's no way I'm paying $80 for that,
16 ounce, $80. That's ridiculous for a pound. It's $13 a pound, $13.80. I took my son to a barbecue place that had ribeyes, and $26 for a 10-ounce ribeye or 12-ounce ribeye, and I'm like, I paid it because I thought, well, it's tasty smoked ones, and it was good, but not as good as what I can do at home, and it's cheap. I could eat 4 ribeyes for that,
I'm like that myself. Like being a carnivore and eating out as a carnivore is going to be expensive, but doing it at home, definitely, because eating ribeye, going out 3 or 4 times a week and eating ribeye will definitely break you. Ribeyes are expensive in a restaurant, So, but I like I said, the other thing too is it's hard to know, are they cooking it in what kind of oil are they cooking in? Is it butter? And and if they tell you that it is it real butter? You know, like I said, let me see
Yeah.
your butter first. I want to inspect that stick of butter.
Let me see
So,
it.
yeah, it's hard to eat out now. I mean, that's one of the things. It's very difficult to eat out because there's hardly anything on the menu. Like there's one thing on something, but like, oh, okay, they've got a grilled leg quarter. Okay, great. But then it comes with 8 things that you don't want to eat. You know, it's got this, it's got that on it, it's got this. It's like I just want to eat the leg, you know. But you
Yeah.
can't order the leg unless you go to McDonald's. You know, that's the only place I've really found that a la carte works is McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's, that kind of thing. But you know, I don't eat there much at all. But it'll do.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people commenting on the steaks, a bunch of people saying that they like their steak medium rare. You know, here's the question for you. This might be something weird. Has anybody noticed? Of course, I don't know what it would have been like had I not been a vegan, but I started out my carnivore journey and cooking meat until it was cooked done, right? And now I notice that when it comes to cooking like my lamb and my beef, I'm like getting closer and closer to rare. I mean,
Yep.
like
Yeah,
literally, and that's the way I like it. And
Juicy.
yeah,
I don't know what it is about it because that would have made me you know, in the past. But yeah, that I've noticed recently that when I cook my meat, I want it almost like still bleeding, and I don't know if that's just a normal progression or maybe all meat eaters are that way. I don't know, but I just happened to notice that that's been happening to me lately.
yeah. I think I prefer any like medium meat. Yeah, medium rare is the most I will have something. I mean, I prefer rare, but most restaurants don't. You tell them rare and it comes medium rare.
Medium, yeah.
I mean, I like rare, but I can go up to medium rare. You know, it's in the air fryer. Sometimes it's hard to get it perfect. Like if you want rare, but medium rare is fine.
If
Yeah.
I want something rare all the way through, you can do like a sous vide, or you can do a reverse sear, right, in the oven or smoker. And that's what I do. I usually, because that way you get the core temperature up to what you want to eat it at. Like get the core temperature up to 101, 102, 103, and then pull it out and then sear it in the pan until you get the temperature up to
Crispy on the outside.
Yeah, you sear it in tallow, and then you get you let your temperature rise up to 110, 120, whatever you want for medium rare. But that way, all the way through, it's juicy, every bite from end to end. Now, when you do air fryer, the ends are a little more well done and crispy, but I kind of like that. It's like burnt ends on top of your steak, right?
I was going to say that sounds amazing to me.
Yeah, it is, man. I would, sous vide is kind of intriguing, but man, it just seems like a lot of time, man, to get that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want to cook that shit and eat, man. Let's go.
Well, and the problem with sous vide that you eliminate with doing a reverse sear is a sous vide, because you're going to sear it too. You're going to get the temperature up, and then you're going to sear it. But you have all that moisture on the outside because it's been in a bag full of water. So it does get incredibly tender, but the outside is very wet. And when water changes state from liquid to gas, that's a huge amount of energy sucked away. So you're not getting as good of a crisp as a crust. Whereas if you do a reverse sear, all that water is evaporated out in the exterior of the steak. And once you sear it, it crisps up really quick. So it's a better quality sear.
Nancy, is that Nancy's name on there? She mentions about needing more cooking videos. And
yes,
Larry's got some really good ones. You've got two. Luna, there's another girl who's got great videos. Courtney Luna, her YouTube channel. She's got a lot of great videos.
She's actually making a cookbook. I think she's like a chef or something. Like she's got some great stuff. I do a lot of cooking, but mine is like experimenting because I was a vegan. So I didn't cook but potatoes and rice, So my stuff is more like, let's see if this is going to work kind of thing.
Yeah, she's got a contract from a publishing company to put out a carnivore.
Yeah, she did the book. Yeah.
Just did her last recipe, I think, and she's now they're in the editing stages and all that. So, but
then there's Maria Emmerich got a lot of good stuff too, right? She's pretty Maria Emmerich. She's got quite a few recipes out there that I use some of, like the mayonnaise one and deviled eggs, that kind of stuff. She's got some good stuff.
Oh, the one that you did, Larry, on
Mayonnaise.
Oh my gosh, man! Like
So
I
good.
I have not made it yet, Larry, but I've watched it twice. Like, man, I have got to make this, man.
Well, wait, you got to use that. You make that, and then you make deviled eggs. I didn't make the deviled egg
Eggs,
video
yeah.
yet. Deviled
I
eggs with
made that
bacon mayonnaise. Oh my gosh, it's killer.
Yeah.
Killer.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I like that. Just looks so good. I could like, man, imagine if I was eating bread, I'd just make a sandwich with that stuff, man.
Yeah, deviled egg sandwich.
Yeah. Or
For sure. But you can get deviled eggs and dice it up, put it in a bowl, and eat it. I mean, it's just so good. And I made it for Thanksgiving, and the kids locked in on it, started eating them, like just eating the heck out of them. And I was like, all right, guys, stop. 2 each. We got to wait till everyone gets one. Then you can come back. So I let everyone make sure everyone got some, because the guests weren't even all there yet. And they started devouring these.
They were going to have them gone.
I didn't want that. Yeah.
You know what? Lately, I've been having these weird food cravings. The other day, I ate. I like soft scrambled eggs. Like every now and then, instead of scrambling with the bacon, I chop up bacon. I cook the bacon first, and then I just dump like 6 to 8.
That's what I do. I throw it on that grease.
I just throw it all in, so the yolks will absorb all that pork fat. And anyway, sometimes instead I will just dump a can of sardines, whole sardines with the bone. I don't know why. It's like, it just seems bizarre, but it's so good. And then Courtney Luna got me addicted to this other thing. I mean, this sounds gross, but it's really it's pork skins. It's like eating a bowl of cereal. I tried
it. It was gross.
I know, pork skins and heavy whipping cream. Yeah.
Half and half, eating it like a bowl of cereal. And let me tell you, man, like around here, there's some awesome pork skins in this area that are homemade. And I bought some not too long ago, and I got like a little handful, put them in a tumbler glass, and I added maybe a 1/8 of a cup of heavy whipping cream. And oh my gosh, it was bliss, man.
I tried it. I couldn't. I took a couple bites and I was like, but again, mine were the Walmart, just the generic pork rinds, and I kind of irked a little bit.
I love heavy whipping cream, and I love like pork skin, especially homemade pork skins that you can get around here. And that combination right there, I don't eat it all the time. Like, maybe once every 3 or 4 weeks I'll have some. But man, is that stuff good?
So my son's favorite scrambled eggs, someone else taught me this, and it's really good. So you make the bacon, you leave the grease in there, you throw the eggs in, and you have to have a pan that you can cover, right? So you throw the eggs in, get it so it's still too wet, not when it's done. You don't want to get it dry. You want to you scramble a little bit and then let it sit there, and then you pull it off the heat. You throw in cheddar cheese and Philadelphia cream cheese, which is already softened in cubes, and then put the top on and let it sit off the heat and just sit there, and it stays super moist, and that cheese just melts in, and there's bacon in there, and my son loves that. It's like his favorite. All right. I'll make a big pan of that, give him half of it, put the other half in the fridge, and he'll come back and eat it later in the day and nuke it in the microwave.
You don't eat it? Because I'd eat them.
Well, I eat some. I have a little bit. It's not great. And, I like red meat. I mean, eggs are okay. They're inferior, but they're okay.
I love eggs, though. But
I love eggs.
I've got those ingredients. So tomorrow morning or tomorrow, like 11, I will make a batch of that. That sounds good.
Yeah, you make sure you take it off the heat now and put the lid on after you put that. And the lid just gets that moisture and traps it in and melts everything down.
So
and
you're not cooking the scrambled eggs all the way through yet. They're like soft.
No. Yeah, you scramble them a little bit and then let them even out. And then before they get fully hardened, and you pull them off and put the cheese on and then put the top on. Let it just sit off the heat in the heat of the pan and just finish up.
How much cream cheese are you putting in there? Do you
I put in, like, for 6 eggs, I put in a half a brick of 4 ounces of cream cheese, cubed up and softened, and then I put in like you can put in like a quarter to a half a cup of cheese, how cheesy you want it, and I put in bacon bits or pieces of bacon, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, unless but you cooked bacon first and then you use that grease.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, if I didn't, I'll use bacon grease, which I keep on the side. But usually I do cook the bacon first. Yeah.
So I do all that except for the cream cheese.
The cream
I've
cheese is good
discovered
stuff.
that I like the eggs really creamy like that with some
Yeah.
cheese, but I'm gonna try. I have cream cheese, so I'm
Throw
gonna
some
have to
cream
try
cheese
it.
in there. It's pretty good. You're not going to complain. I'll tell you that. The kids won't complain.
Yeah, when I cook, my wife likes scrambled eggs, and she likes bacon as well. But I combine the two. Like I chopped up the bacon just chopped them up really nice, and then cooked them in a pan. Then threw the eggs in there, and I was surprised at how much she liked those. So I was like, hey, good. I can get her eating carnivore in the mornings now.
There you go. Yep, you sure can.
Yeah.
Awesome sauce. Well, I'll tell you what, we've actually reached the end of this hour, and now I'm hungry. And so go find something to eat. But I really appreciate you guys coming on again tonight. Larry, what do you got going on coming up? I know you are busy. Your channel is just a rolling.
Yeah, I got your video coming out.
I know I need to get you a picture. I do need to get you a picture.
We had a communication misfire, so that's the only reason it didn't come out last week. But the actual podcast is out. If you go check out Mission Carnivore podcast, you'll find Kat's story on there. Her video will be coming out soon, and probably Monday or Tuesday. Probably Monday. Probably tomorrow, I imagine, if you get a picture to me. And then after that, there's another guy, which Dave, you'll be glad to hear this. A guy named Jaime. He's an active duty chaplain with an air wing on a carrier. Okay, so the air wings go on and off carriers, but he has the whole air wing that's his responsibility. There's about 4,000 people, I think, in the air wing.
Yeah.
So, and he's a carnivore, and he's a great guy, a great story. You guys will love it. He's active duty, and now not only can he help people with their spiritual and emotional issues, he can help them physically better than the doctor can on the ship. I guarantee you. And I'm really excited to see what happens with this guy. He's just wait till you hear him. He's a fantastic guy, too. He's just totally fun and young guy, really young. You don't expect a guy to be a chaplain and be like all young and like surfing. Like he's a surf guy. He's really cool. It's a fun interview. You guys are going to dig it. And that'll be out probably by Thursday or Friday. Of course, I have Wednesday as my hump day meetup.
I need to get back into those again. I was going to ask you too, real quick, and then we'll tie this up. But a while ago, you were talking about possibly going into your old unit and seeing if you could get with some of the people on the I don't want to call the FAT program, but whatever it's called nowadays. That's what I called it when we were in the Army. Did you ever do that? And
I did. I got like the HHBN XO and the Signal Company Commander. But so the deal is the Army just switched to the new PT standard.
Yeah.
And they're all afraid of it because, well, for one thing, they don't measure anymore. Tape measures are out because no one can make tape. So they're like, all right, we're just going to get rid of that standard because everyone's too fat. So we just can't do it anymore. So we're not going to do it. But it's ridiculous, right? Is that the answer? Really? Okay, well, whatever. So that's one thing they did. The other thing is this PT standard's harder. It is harder physically. So they're like, okay, you can be fat. You just got to be able to perform. So now they're all worried because they're worried they're not going to pass this, right? And I'm waiting for their first cycle to come through of their record PTs. And then I'm going to go in right after it and hit this XO and see like, hey, listen, you guys I already talked to some of them and they were receptive, but they didn't follow up. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to let it go a few months, let them get a couple cycles in, see how their PT tests or diagnostics or their record PT tests go. And then I'm going to come in when they're desperate and say, all right, who wants to talk? So we'll see.
And I don't know, like privacy wise or whatever, but if they were willing, that would be a really neat thing to document on your channel.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to, even if it was just like Sergeant A and Sergeant B and Specialist C or whatever, not even use their name.
Yeah,
here's the results.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't know about the privacy.
Yeah, we wouldn't want any of the HIPAA stuff, but it'd be great to if they were willing to share. That'd be great. Awesome. And I retired Texas Army National Guards. This is a Texas Army National Guard unit. Of course, they're very busy right now defending our border.
Yeah,
this is like one of the times I wish I was back in the Guards. I'd love to be down there right now, running some razor wire with them. So just me.
Yeah. Okay, well, awesome. I can't wait to maybe hear more about that. And I'm going to have to see if you have any spots on your Wednesdays because I haven't been on in a while, but I do need to. I need to come back.
Spots. I think this one
Always a
didn't
good
have to
time on. If you haven't checked out Larry's channel, Carnivore Soldier, he is awesome, awesome, awesome. And Dave, well, he doesn't have a channel. We haven't convinced him of it yet, but Dave is a regular on our channel, so we're always graced with his presence. But I'm going to go ahead and move you guys to the back room if you want to hold on for a second. But thank you again. It has been a blast. I absolutely love talking to y'all guys, and I'll be right back with you.
Later, Larry.
Bye. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you again for everybody who has joined us and the questions and comments. It's always a good time. Larry and excuse me, Dave, they're just wonderful people. And if you haven't checked out, like I said, Larry's channel, go ahead and do that because he's just got an immense amount of information. But once again, thank you so much for joining us here this evening. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night, a great week. And until we talk again, eat your meat.